Now, not to get too down bad on the timeline on this fine Wednesday afternoon, but damn, werewolf harem isn't the worst idea ever, I guess. And, given the fact that she fell over a waterfall without her weapon, most likely was going to land in the village of werewolves, Shizuku should consider herself lucky, as waking up naked snuggling up with, some attractive babes. The fact that when she transforms, it's like this naked werewolf harem. And I'm just like, you know what? Of all the ways that you could almost die, probably not the worst way to go. And it's funny when you think about it, because the two shows that I watch on Wednesdays are Reborn as a Vending Machine and Undead Girl Murder Farce. And every single time I feel like one of them ends up having their best episode of the season, the other one also does that. And I just said that with its latest episode because it was just such an emotionally engaging episode. Undead Murder Farce comes in, and I think this might be my personal favorite episode of the show to date, because it really does a perfect misdirection. Because like I said last week, everything was seemingly revealed, but at the same time, nothing felt like it was revealed. Like it was all misdirects, the transformation. This episode is primarily focused on our maid basically having to navigate, be the detective, fight for her life, but also have to deal with some BS, like basically, the ritual that they were doing, the kind of lie detector, is pretty much the equivalent of trying to find a witch back in the day. Okay, we're gonna push you off the cliff. If you fly, you're a witch. If you die, well, at least we know you were human. That's pretty much what they were doing to Shizuku, and honestly, it was some BS, but it was entertaining nonetheless. But I do have a full live reaction to today's wonderful episode available on my Patreon, so if you would like to see that, head on over there, consider supporting. This was a great episode. I loved it. I think it's different, and it's very interesting because almost immediately when you start off, you're like, okay, one, why is she naked? Okay, yeah, hypothermia and all that, that makes sense. But when you see this blonde girl and how she's like, there's a lot of mystery surrounding her, and almost immediately I'm thinking, what if she's human, right? Like, what if, there's something going on here? Because basically, by the end of that conversation, when our maid brings up the fact that, hey, like, what if there's a human in this village? Like, would you guys be able to smell or tell? And she gets very defensive, almost like she's protecting someone or something. And the idea that this village, we learned that each of them live by themselves, right? They don't have a mate or anything like that. So they're all by themselves. And they try to sneak her out of here because ultimately they're initially suspicious because she had a gun. And the 3 deaths that they dealt with were all a shotgun, and pretty much it's been the same way every single time. So basically, it doesn't matter if it's an 11-year-old girl, it doesn't matter if it's a young adult, the head gets blown off and they don't know who's doing it or why. But her gun doesn't match up bullet-wise to, obviously, the situation. So they're a little more willing to believe, and especially after kind of like that nice T-bonding moment, it makes sense why they drop their guard a little bit without just fully arms embracing, everything's fine, they're being cautious without being completely skeptical to the point of wanting to string someone up and burn them alive just for the slight chance they might be who they're looking for. Though I will admit, the brutality of the chase scene was actually way more than I was expecting, so I'm figuring, okay, she's gonna run, she grabbed a broom for a reason. She'll hit people upside the head, she might do some basic attacks, but nothing to the point that we're gonna see blood. And then this werewolf opens its mouth, she shoves the broom down its throat, which is already like, ugh, that's gotta hurt. And then she jumps on it like she's Mario jumping on a Goomba, and you see the blood splatter. The funniest is when after that, it's like 20 seconds after the fact when she has to drop her guard, you see this one dude just kind of rubbing his neck because he just he just had to throw the broom, bro. Like, that's not, you're gonna be feeling that for a couple of days. But it was really, really entertaining because obviously their fear. I mean, if people are going missing and dying, and we don't know who's friend, who's foe, we can't trust the human. She had a gun, well, she's the culprit. But the ritual, the kind of like the test, right? It's kind of like going up and having your life completely in the hands of a single person on a jury, and that person happens to be 130 years old and probably is half senile, and honestly, can you really trust that to make sound judgments? No, you're gonna end up with politicians like in America who freeze up on the fly and can't speak and remember where they are. Like, it ain't gonna work out too well. But I do like the idea of just something so interesting, even though it's completely unfair. It is very interesting in terms of we ask you a question, we don't like the answer, we slowly pull logs away. Completely unfair, mind you, but it is what it is. The thing that's really like, it made me salty is when this old wench decided to blame her for the death of this girl. Like, she's like, hey, you know what, here it is, it has to be her. She was in front of you. You were interrogating her when you heard the gun go off. Do they just assume she has telekinesis and she's pushing a shotgun down like kilometers down the way. Like, it don't make sense. And that's when grandma needs a pimp slap or a backside. I don't know, man. Like, it's just she rubbed me the wrong way. And it was really nice seeing her have to be the detective. Like, okay, it looks like the body was placed here after the fact, so maybe she got out of the bath, like she was bathing in the river or something, but why would they transfer the body here? The biggest issue is that there was seemingly 2 gunshots, the one in the chest, which is different than usually the headshot, but also the fact that there was a gunshot, seemingly a warmth on the tree there, right? My assumption is she potentially could be human, as far as we know, and maybe there was a werewolf there that was also getting shot. The only way I could see the gunshot at the same time is if they were 2 shots at the same time and it just overlapped, but that doesn't really seem likely. I don't know. Like, this is the hardest arc, I think, to rationalize exactly where it's going. But I do like what they did with the mystery surrounding this, and it was really refreshing because if you do look at the show, Sugara and Aya has kind of been the main driving forces. You know, we have Shizuku. She's good. She's a very entertaining character. But it's not like she's really had many moments to drive the show by herself, and this is what this episode was all about, and she did a rather good job. She took influence from her mistress, and most importantly, she had a good head on her shoulders, and falling off that waterfall, making it look from their perspective that she was dead and potentially gone forever, and seemingly based on the hypothermia, she probably would have died if they didn't take her in. It's a very good episode. I think it was well produced, especially with that chase scene. It had a lot of mystery, and obviously it had the fun moments, like the God, I wish that were me. I mean, if I have to fall off a waterfall, yeah, you best hope I have some nice ladies that are gonna warm me up, because otherwise, I mean, just leave me there. Let's just end it at that point, because, you know, there ain't much better, in my opinion. But it was good, man. It was a very fun episode. The big thing is I'm happy there's 2 more episodes left to go, because I feel like if we were to walk into next week's episode and it was the end, I feel like it would be too abrupt. Even if they end this arc next episode, it still feels like we have to tie the bow. Like, look at the end of this episode, right? We got our cowboys. We got Frankenstein here, probably the coolest maneuver I've seen for something that wasn't actually Attack on Titan maneuver gear. The idea of like grabbing with the chains, swinging them up and pew pew, just Wild West. It was fun, it really was. I mean, I'm easy to please sometimes, but that was a pretty cool moment overall. But either way, this show has been a blast. It's honestly only gotten better, and I really like how hard it is to truly rationalize exactly what's going on in this show. But it never feels like that's because like it's poorly written, but more so it's purposely trying to misdirect you at any possible moment. And I think after last week, with how much it wanted us to feel like we understood where it was going, this episode just kind of ripped the band-aid off again and said, no, we still have a lot more left to tell. But let me know if you got any theories, speculations on where we might go from here, especially with the 2 gunshots. Only 1 gunshot was heard. Like, let me know what you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel. And like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction over on my Patreon if you're interested. And hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Harry Truscott, Hikari Lounge, Hishira Shin, Ian, Inger Thorson, and Isaac Farnsworth. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.